Uh, Ryan Clark said something yesterday that triggered everybody, and I don't get this at all, why this was so triggering. Let's play Ryan Clark talking about generational talent.
I think John Elway was a generational talent. I think Patrick Mahomes is a generational talent. I don't think Tom Brady, I don't think Drew Brees, I don't think Peyton Manning are generational talents. I think Andrew Luck ended up being a generational talent. I don't think there's a ton of them out there.
But so then what? Then how does one, in your eyes, be a generational talent? Because there's not a lot of difference.
Production. Let me chime in here because I love the argument back and forth between y'all. I ain't trying to get in the way of it. But here's the reality. The operative word here is. Do you believe Arch Manning is a generational talent? He could be, but he's not.
Why not?
Not yet. What have you seen to say that he is?
There's no evidence.
There's no evidence.
Here's why I'm defending Ryan Clark. Because an NFL defensive back and an NFL quarterback were having a conversation about generational talent. And they were talking about talent. And Stephen A. Smith, a fraud, an idiot with no athletic experience, doesn't know what he's talking about, totally revamped the conversation and made it about production. Ryan Clark's not talking about production. Dan Orlovsky, as he's talking about Arch Manning, he's not talking about production. He's talking about potential and talent and God-given abilities that make people generational talents. The greatest generational talent at the quarterback position, Ryan Clark is 1,000% right, it's John Elway. And he actually lived up to that generational talent. There are many people, there was somebody he lists, Andrew Luck. He didn't live up to that generational talent. He got beat up, he quit football, and I'm not saying that negatively. He got beat up and he left football. He didn't live up to that generation. I grew up with a guy named Jeff George, generational talent. Didn't live up to it. That's the conversation they were having. Ryan Clark was not trying to insult Peyton Manning or Drew Brees or anybody, because what you want to be is a generational player, not a generational talent. And all of those guys are generational players. And I actually have, John Elway is my favorite quarterback, favorite player in NFL history, but I actually have more respect. Not that I don't respect John Elway, but I actually have more respect for Tom Brady for making himself into a generational player with all the intangibles and the skills that he developed to accentuate the talent that he did have.
So I was going to tell you to go ahead and defend Stephen A. Smith there, because that is one of the dumbest things I've ever heard of generational talent, meaning production. I don't even know what that means. And that you could tell that both of them were somewhat annoyed. Ryan Clark would never admit it, but he was annoyed that Stephen A. Smith hijacked the conversation there because he made an interesting point. I think we need to define terms here, though, a little bit, because I think I agree with you. It's a very interesting, something I never thought about before. I was following your Twitter yesterday, that, skills are not God-given, that talent's God-given, skills are developed. Never had thought of that in my life. And the reason it resonates is because I've been in a locker room. We've all been around super talented guys where you're like, that dude just don't have it, and he's never going to have it. Whatever generational talent, the 5 stars next to his name don't mean a thing. I played with 5-star guys that performed like 2 stars, and they played, and then coaches were too embarrassed to put them on the field after a while. I played with those guys, and I played with a lot of 2 stars. Denario Alexander, I think, was a 2-star. Ended up being the leading receiver in all NCAA football his senior year. I played with a bunch of those guys, and so that was developed talent. Now, as it relates to the star system, it's a little bit different because you should be evaluating talent there. They just missed on it. But the point is that this is why I say we should define terms. And this is a question for you, so I would consider you, and I'll be interested to see if you disagree with this, a generational talent as a sports writer. That's my view of you. You may say, no, you're not. You've developed that skill. But where I'm going with this is to say your talent isn't in your hand. It's not your ability to type the words. It's in your mind, right? It's the gift that I think that you had as a sports writer was the ability to string together a lot of unique ideas and present things in a compelling way that a lot of people were interested in reading. That was in your mind. And so Tom Brady's real talent, his generational talent, if he does have any, is in his head. And I watched it. It's his ability to read defenses, to be so far ahead of everybody. That's something you can't really quantify. And so I don't know how, if we're talking just arm talent or just the ability, Jamarcus Russell, yeah, that's a generational physical gift that he did not have any of the motivation, skills, as you would say, or the mind talent to get there. But Tom Brady is more gifted in the mind, Peyton Manning more gifted in the mind than any quarterback that's ever existed. And I'm not just talking about IQ. I'm talking about the ability to process information.
I think that the stress test for quarterbacks over the last 20 years has been reduced to such a level that it's hard for me to say, oh, smartest quarterbacks to ever do it, Brady and Manning. I was like, how do I know they're smarter than Roger Staubach? Roger Staubach used to have to call plays. Roger Staubach used to get beat up in a real way that these guys just don't. And I know there was an early part of their career where they got beat up a little bit, but not the way Roger Staubach and Terry Bradshaw and these people did. And so it's hard for me to go there. What I will say, let's take your analogy about Tom Brady reading defenses. Everything that I've heard from Tom Brady has been, man, you know how much film I studied? Mm-hmm. Do you know how much film I studied? And so it wasn't just I don't need to study film. I can just show up and read a defense. No, he was taught how to read a defense. He had to constantly study to read a defense, and that's like me in writing. I do believe I was blessed with a gift to be able to tie stories together and see themes and be a critical thinker about sports. But as it relates to the writing, there's a guy named Bill O'Connor that was my editor at the Charlotte Observer, and he would tell you I had virtually no writing ability. He had to browbeat it out of me, and he did, and I thank God for him. And others, Bob Hamill, who just passed away, and Andy Graham at the Bloomington Herald Times. These guys helped me develop a writing skill. The thoughts, those, I will say, those come from God. I go back to my childhood and things that I would say to my family and friends, like, I can't believe I was saying this stuff at 8, 9, 10 years old, things that I now fully understand. That's some sort of gift. But the things, and the other thing that, I got involved in all these arguments over X yesterday, where I just thought people were crazy, is I don't think there's a full understanding by virtually anybody, maybe even the competitors that play quarterback. I don't think they've given it enough thought about what it really took to be a great quarterback up until the last 15 years. And what Tom Brady and Phil Simms and Brett Favre, and I could go on and on, these guys all had the biggest pair of balls that you've ever seen at the quarterback position. They would take hits to deliver that football to a receiver downfield, and then all the players would go back and look on film and see, man, Brady, man, he's as courageous as Lawrence Taylor. He's got as big a balls as Ray Lewis. And they would fall in love with him because, oh, man, that's what we respect. We see someone masculine and courageous. And so people were saying, well, Tom Brady, he's a generational leader, and that's a talent. No, he's courageous. And that's what made him a great leader. That was his foundation of leadership. Everybody respected Tom Brady because they'd go watch the film and say, man, this dude is like a linebacker sitting in there playing quarterback. And it made the receivers respect you. It made the offensive linemen respect you. It makes the defensive guys respect you. That's why, Ray Lewis swears by Tom Brady and loves Tom Brady. And so I just, Stephen A. dirtied up the conversation, making it about production. Many people think, some guy was arguing with me, IQ is the most important trait for a quarterback. Ryan Fitzpatrick scored a 48, 49 on the Wonderlic. Carson Wentz scored a 40 on the Wonderlic. that Ryan Fitzpatrick went to Harvard. It's not IQ. It's courage. And again, if I'm gonna go biblical, and I apologize to some of the audience for doing this. I don't have to apologize to you, but there's a reason why the Bible repeatedly says, "Do not fear," because an absence of courage destroys men and prevents men from accomplishing things. Courage is the ingredient. And just as like I told people before, like IQ is the most important trait. Man, all these wicked IQ people that are building things to destroy and kill babies in the womb, and you can take this pill and you can do that. And I'm not down on IQ, but like it's the source of everything, no dice. No dice for me. Don't miss a second of Fearless. Hit that like button and subscribe to keep up with our latest content.